Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to talk about all of my favorite authors. Maybe not all of my favorite authors, but some of my favorite authors who I consider auto-buy authors. I will read anything that they publish. That's not to say that I have read everything that they have published, at least yet. And this isn't all of the authors that I would consider on this list. These are just some of them. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the queen, and it should come as no surprise to you that Stephenie Meyer is first on this list. Now everyone knows who Stephenie Meyer is. She is the author of the Twilight Saga, and I didn't intend for this to turn into a rant video about the fandom, but I have heard that she is actually writing under a pen name, which I don't blame her for at all, because the Twilight Saga was just insane the way it rose to popularity, and then almost just as fast everyone hated her, hated Stephenie Meyer, hated Twilight. There was so much criticism along with all of the love that came from it, and I swear to goodness there were people who loved it who were the exact same people who then turned around and said they didn't like it. And I don't know what that comes from. Maybe an embarrassment of just fawning so heavily over it and then listening to criticism talking about, oh, Edward's actually a really bad guy, and why are we romanticizing toxic relationships and all of these kinds of things. And then of course I have to come in and say, well, it's not the only series that has a lot of these exact same dynamics and everything else. There's a lot of other series that have even worse dynamics that people don't shame as much, or they might not like the books, but they don't go as far as shaming the author who wrote them. So in a way, I have a lot of compassion for Stephenie Meyer as an author, and I hate to think that all of that sensationalism has made her not want to write anymore, because I love her books and she hasn't published anything in a really long time. There are rumors that she is writing under a pen name, and if it's true, I want to know, because I want to read anything this woman publishes, because I do think she's a really good author, and I get so irritated at the people who are big haters. It's one thing to dislike her books, but some of the hatred I think comes from a very misplaced perspective. I think a lot of people maybe didn't like the movies, or they're basing the books based off of the movies, and I just have to reiterate so much that the books explain a lot of these things that the movies kind of oversimplified. For example, glittering skin. Like, if you read it in the books with an open mind, you could see that it's not so weird. You know what I mean? It sounds so much different, or it looks different on the page. You know what I'm saying? And that just comes with movie adaptations that just can't always do the books perfect justice. I really didn't intend for this video to turn into a big rant sesh and trying to defend these books. Every time I talk about the series, I can't help but be so fiercely protective of it and of Stephenie Meyer, and I feel so sad that she hasn't written more, at least from what I know. So not only did she write the Twilight series, which we know as Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn, she also wrote The Host, which is an Alien series, and there was supposed to be a second in the series, but I guess it never came out. So we're just left with the first one, which I'm kind of okay with, but I really enjoyed this series. I thought The Host was really good, and I would have loved to read more of this series. She also wrote the short Second Life of Bree Tanner, which was a novella that kind of falls in between books number 3 and book number 4, and I thought that was a really nice little addition. She also wrote Midnight Sun, it basically follows the same timeline as Twilight, however it's from Edward's perspective, and this was actually she was actually just doing a character study, but this was leaked to the public, and for the longest time, you could download the PDF of it because it was leaked, and I read that a couple of times and I really liked it. So eventually, and potentially it was a cash grab, it was definitely for the fans, but I don't care. I'm so happy that she actually flushed it out and turned it into a novel of its own, and I love it. A lot of people really didn't like it, and I don't care. I really enjoyed it, because I love characters who can read other people's minds, because I don't know, I really like it. She did also write where is it? It is a book. It's like Twilight. It's a gender swap of Twilight. And I think it was to me it feels like it's defensive. It definitely wasn't. I don't believe that it was kind of a I don't think it was about the gender thing. I think it was more of a defense because some of the criticisms that came out about traditional roles of males and females, that's how it made me feel when this book came out. And I did listen to it. I got the audiobook of this one and I didn't really like it because it felt really weird to me. I liked the traditional roles. I liked the role that Bella played. I really get annoyed with the ultra feminist agenda here where women have to be physically, mentally stronger than men and put men down in a way. Like, I'm almost like my tastes are kind of pushing back against that because it gets so over the top sometimes where the girls are physically stronger, which just makes absolutely no sense to me. Why can we not have feminine characters who maybe are not more physically fit than the male characters, but can hold their own, but also be okay with the fact that women can use their wits and be just as strong and independent? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, Twilight was not about these kinds of things anyways. It was a love story. It feels like people had to look for things to have problems with it. And here I go again. So I'm going to stop while I'm ahead, and I'm just going to say that was an addition to the Twilight thing that I really just didn't care for. And then she also wrote The Chemist, and I don't know if this was meant to be a standalone or if they also wanted to make this into a series. Either way, this was completely different. It was about a girl who works for, I think, the government or something, and then she ends up on the run, but she's a chemist, and she's got like all these like tools and things like that, and she uses her wits and her knowledge of being a chemist to get by. I don't know. It was okay when I read it. I didn't care for it all that much, but I think that this is one that I would like to read again. And I think that if Stephenie Meyer is writing under a pen name, I do think that even myself, I find myself almost typecasting her as an author because I think of her and I can't stop thinking about Twilight and how much good feelings it made me feel. So it does feel like other things just aren't as good as Twilight, and which isn't really fair. So anyways, those are the books that she has written. I did end up actually, now that I'm looking at it, I see that I gave The Chemist 2 stars, but anyways. Okay, moving on to the next one. Another one you probably wouldn't be surprised to hear, Cassandra Clare. I pretty much have read almost everything she has written as well, minus a few things. So she's most famous for writing the Shadowhunter Chronicles, which includes a whole bunch of works, a whole bunch of series within the whole universe. We have The Mortal Instruments, which is 6-book series, The Infernal Devices, which is 3 books, The Dark Artifices, which is 3 books. I didn't really like these. I thought they were so incredibly long. They were pretty dull, repetitive. She also wrote The Last Hours. I think we're coming back here. I really liked these. Then we have novellas, The Bane Chronicles. These are a bunch of short stories within a series, and it follows Magnus Bane. He is a warlock, and he has a pretty big role in a lot of our characters through all these different timelines, and I think it's really interesting. Then we have Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. Again, this is a short story collection. I really did not like this. I felt like because I think these were originally issued as not together, so every time there's a new story, we have this whole introduction that's very, very repetitive, especially when you're reading it within the compendium. I got so exhausted from it, and then it felt really tedious because some of our characters were just showing up. Characters that I generally really liked became really insufferable in this collection, which was really kind of sad. Then we have The Ghosts of the Shadow Market. This was incredible. This follows Brother Zachariah, and if you know who that is, but this is through all the time that he was a brother. What do they call him? Oh my god, I can't even think of what they're called. Brother Zachariah also comes into a lot of our characters' lives, and he is also kind of on this mission of his own, and his story is so interesting, and he's a beloved character. Just the writing in this collection was so good. I don't know where she pulled the inspiration or the words for the story, there's a different atmosphere to it than all the other books that she has written that I can't speak highly enough of it. I think it is incredible. If you were somebody who read all the Shadowhunters books and kind of got burnt out on them and didn't read all the other short stories, I would give this one a try. Kitty's happy to see you. Maybe if you didn't like the Mortal Instruments, but you liked the Infernal Devices, I strongly recommend that you give Ghosts of the Shadow Market a try because it was really, really good. And again, the writing style in this really, really shines in this one. Then we have The Eldest Curses. And this follows, I feel that this is kind of weird. One of the books follows like kind of a slice of life kind of thing of one character. Alex, that's right. It follows him. But then the other story is like short story collection, but the timeline is just like really big, weird gaps of time. And I feel that I felt it was a little sloppy. I'm not gonna lie. This might be very controversial. I'm gonna piss somebody off. I know it. But what I mean is that there are characters who are male-female characters who have a romance. They get some scenes where, you know, they're getting a little hot and heavy and they're really, but then we have other scenes where I don't think we have any female love interests. Maybe we have one. I think we do have one character dynamic where it's a female love interest. They don't really get a lot of, you know, kissy scenes and stuff like that, like intimate scenes on the page. When it comes to the male relationships, they get very, very graphic. And you know that I don't like a lot of graphic scenes for any type of dynamic character. But I guess I feel very confused as to why, and this isn't just Cassandra Clare, it's other books too. If you compare the dynamics of the love interests, it's always the male characters who get the most graphic scenes, especially in comparison. The other character dynamics are not given the same attention to detail as the male scenes. It's just something that I have been noticing. I wonder if other people notice it, and are they getting fed up with it? Because I'm a little fed up with it. If that's the way you're going to write, then write, give all of your characters the same attention. It feels, you know how people say that you overcompensate to show that you are a fan of a certain thing, and so you give it so much more attention in a specific area? That's how it feels. There was another book I read recently where everything was kind of going as normal, but then they had this male character dynamic and they were given so much attention to the sex life, but then their actual characters were not well developed as far as like what kind of character they are other than their sex life. And so it just felt like they were there to serve that one purpose, but everything else I didn't care about. And I think it shows a lot more about the author than it does. Do you know what I'm saying? I would love to know what other people think of this. And I think that it deserves maybe an in-depth conversation about things. Okay, so back to Cassandra Clare. So she also wrote the Infernal Devices manga series, which I think is really cool that we also have it in manga format, they call them graphic novels, but they look like mangas. I've read a couple of these. Then we have the Chronicles of Castellane, and this is her first adult series, and I've read The Swordcatcher #1. I got the second one, The Ragpicker King, but I haven't read it yet. That needs to happen very soon because I'm very excited about it. It was really good. And then it looks like we have something else here called The Wicked Powers and In Fire Foretold. I thought there was another middle grade series that she co-authored, but I can't find it at this moment, which is really weird. Anyways, so I've basically almost read everything that she has ever published. The next author I will read anything from is Leigh Bardugo. She has wrote the Grishaverse books, and this is like three series that all kind of combine to include all take place in the Grishaverse. So we have the Shadow and Bone series, which is 3 books, Six of Crows, which is 2 books, and the King of Scars, which is 2 books. And those are all so good. The only one I have not read is Rule of Wolves, which is the second one of the King of Scars yet. I need to reread King of Scars. But then I was kind of thinking that I'm going to go ahead and reread all of Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, and then read King of Scars. But then I have some other series I want to do rereads of too, so I keep putting it off for that purpose. Then she also wrote the Alex Stern series, which is 2 books. I think there's only going to be 2 books. There's Ninth House and then Hellbent, and I read Ninth House. Not my favorite of hers, but I still actually want to give it a reread. And then I haven't read Hellbent because I'm waiting to reread Ninth House before I read Hellbent. But I basically read everything that she has written as well. Sarah J. Maas. She wrote the Court of Thorns and Roses series. There are 4 books in that now, but I think there's supposed to be more. I'm not really sure. I really, really hope so. She also wrote the Throne of Glass series, which there are 7 books in that series. And then also, there's also a novella series in that. Then she wrote Crescent City. I have read the first 2 of those, but I haven't read the 3rd one just yet. So at this point, I have read everything that she has written, with the exception of 1 book, the last book in the Crescent City series. Again, I wanted to do a full reread of her series. Last year I just finished reading Throne of Glass series. So I wanted to reread A Court of Thorns and Roses and then read Crescent City, because all 3 of these series are very, very different. Different characters, different worlds, but somehow they connect. And I know at least in one way that Throne of Glass connects to Court of Thorns and Roses. So yeah, I need to get around to that. Now the next 3 I haven't read as much from all of their works as I have the other authors, but I have loved everything that I have read, and I want to read everything that they have written, so it is a work in progress. And the first one, hi baby boy. The first one is Sarah Addison Allen. I first discovered her when I read, the book I read first by her was Garden Spells, which I didn't realize is the first of a Waverly family series. And then I read The Girl Who Chased the Moon. And then I read Lost Lake, which is also the start of another series. And I guess that's all I've read. So I've read 3 of her books. I own Other Birds, The Peach Keeper, and First Frost. So First Frost is the 2nd book after Garden Spells, which I recently acquired that book. So that's really nice that I have that. Then Lost Lake also has Waking Kate, which is actually a prequel to Lost Lake. I don't have that one. The Sugar Queen is one of her most notable works. I haven't read that. I don't own that one either. She also has contributed to a short story collection called The Firefly Dance. I'm kind of confused by some of these others. I think that her stories have been contributed to these other compendiums and collections. But anyways, every single book, all 3 books that I have read by her, and they're all just so good and so happy. And I love the magical realism elements that she adds to them. Like, they're really subtle and they're just so beautiful. And I love the characters. Like, you just really feel for the characters. I guess that's all I have to say about that. I definitely need to read more of hers. Okay, the next one is Shay Earnshaw, and I might be jumping the gun just a little bit when I say I would read anything by her, because I first read The Wicked Deep many years ago, like when I first started my YouTube channel. That's when I discovered The Wicked Deep, and I fell in love with it. I am a little bit curious if that book would still hold up today, based on how my reading has changed, but I just have the utmost best feelings remembering back to this book. I recently read Winterwood, and overall it's really good. I did really enjoy it at the end of the day, but it didn't strike me as being as strong as my feelings that I had for The Wicked Deep. I also read Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, and this is like a fan fiction, a retelling of Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. It was so good. I thought this was really well done for a retelling. Furthermore, she has written A History of Wild Places. I own that, but I haven't read it yet. A Wilderness of Stars. No, I don't think I have this one. She's also written The Beautiful Maddening, which I was not even aware of until I looked at her Goodreads profile to see all the books that she has published. I'm gonna have to look into that. It looks like it might be a middle grade, which maybe that's why it hasn't hit my radar. And then so far that's it, but I do want to read everything that she's published. Even if they're not super strong, I think I would still read what she has written. Okay, another author is Rachel Harrison, and this is a kind of a new to me author. Okay, so I've read 3 of her books, but she has published 8 books. I might be jumping the gun a little bit on this one as well. The first book I read by her was Such Sharp Teeth, and I had a lot of fun with this. This is a very traditional werewolf story, but I think that we'll talk in just a minute.
Hold on, show them the Doug. It's the Doug.
That face.
Yeah, he's a little...
Okay, we'll talk in just a minute. After reading this book, I discovered a term called bubblegum horror. I think that's what it's called. It's like a subgenre of horror. And the thing is that it takes on more themes of like girly topics, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I thought it was really great. Then I read Black Sheep, and this again, the main character is a female, and it includes like a cult, and I thought that was really cool because I definitely have like a fascination with cults and learning more about cults when I get into like watching a lot of true crime, and I just find it really interesting. So I was really excited to read a book that features cults. Then I read Cackle most recently, and this is probably the weakest one for me. It follows a witch, but it definitely felt like it had a very intentional message that it wanted to push, and it pushed it so much that I felt like it was almost being pushed on me instead of just having this really fun, quirky story about a witch. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I still really enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed her other ones. Then her other works are The Return. Then there's So Thirsty, which I attempted. This one is about a vampire, which I'm very excited about that. Anything with vampires, sign me up. But this one, I attempted listening to the audiobook, but the narrator was so insufferable. Like, it's following this main girl. She's pretty cool, but her best friend has this very, at least the narrator interpreted her character as having a very Valley Girl type of accent. And it was so insufferable to listen to that I couldn't really get into the story. So this is one that I read the physical copy of. Then she wrote Bad Dolls, The Veil, and Play Nice. I'm not really sure what those are about. I vaguely remember reading the synopsis of The Veil, and it sounds so good. I have to read it. But anyways. Okay, well, that is the end of my list of authors that I will read anything that they publish. Have you read these authors? Let me know. Are there auto-buy authors for you? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon. Bye.